pleasure to be here for the second time in Madrid. A little bit built about myself. My name is Luis Romano. I came from Portugal, so if you don't understand English, I can try to português. Não sei se vai ser muito melhor, so I will do it in English. I'm a BI professional, working BI for 14 years. I'm a Microsoft MVP on data platform, and I lead the business intelligence team at Tesco. There's my email, and try to be more active on LinkedIn and Twitter. My blog is a little bit stale, but I will try to improve that. Big thanks to the sponsors. They are the ones that make this possible. And the agenda for today. So this session is not an introduction section to Power BI. Is anyone new to Power BI? Okay. Might feel a little bit like this guy, but at least you will know some tricks or things that are possible to do in Power BI. So, and it's not also a deep dive. I have around 20 demos to show you. So it will be very fast-paced. It will be very... It can be too much information, but the idea is just for you to know that this is things that are possible. These are hacks that you can use on your daily job. So, the main goal is for you to learn at least something that can be useful on your day-to-day work with Power BI. Okay. So now, but I will stop because I want to see. So let's start with the first one. This is this. It's a very simple. I will start very simple. So these are the Power BI desktop defaults that or default configuration that I found important. So the first one is the default interaction to cross filter. Who knows that? So by default, Power BI, whenever you create a report, it doesn't do this. It does something like this. Try to create another one. City. This is something that, so by default, whenever you it does this. Okay, this is the default behavior on Power BI. You can change that by clicking on this chart and then selecting, I don't want to filter, I want to highlight. And if you select the filter, it will be more useful. So it could be, let's put the district here. No, it will be not like this. No, district, it will show you the cities. For me, this is much more useful than the default, that is like this. Because this, if you click on a district which city is not on the top, you cannot see it. So in the past, to change this, you will need to go visual by visual and change the default behavior to filter. But you can change that for the entire report. And to do that, you just need to go to options, and this is the first thing that I do in all my reports. So I go here and I say, okay, I want the default interaction change to cross filtering, to cross filter and not highlight. So I highly recommend you to do it. The next one, the next two that I disable is the column types and change relationships. So this is something, by the way, the slides are already available on the SQLSaturday site, so you can download it. Don't need to take pictures. Because column types and relationships are really important for you to control. You should know what you are doing. So these are the first, those two settings that I disable. And the last two are really the ones that are the tip of this slide. So the first one is whoever experienced in a Power Query slow experience when you have a lot of queries. No one? Okay. If you disable this, if you haven't disabled this, and now you will disable it, you will see that Power Query will become a lot more faster, because by default, Power Query is always trying to evaluate the query in the background. And if you disable this, it will only evaluate the query if you ask to. So if you have a lot of queries, like 30, you will see that this can be a life changer. And the next one, the auto-date time, is something that a lot of people recommend you to disable it. I won't recommend you to disable it. I will explain you what it does, and you need to know what it does, because it's useful, but if you don't know what it does, you might end up with a problem like this. So I have this Power BI report with 4 rows. Can you guess the size of this PBIX? Anyone? These are the files. Who says that is more than 1 megabyte? Okay, only 1%. This is more than 1 megabyte. I can tell you that I have Power BI implementations with 10 megabyte file that can handle 1 million rows. So 4 rows, it could be some 100K. Now, if I enable that setting by default, the auto-date time, dateable auto-date time, you can see that it takes a while. Come on. Okay, let me save the file. Don't know what's just happened, but not normal. And let's go to the auto-date time. You can see that it's 30 meg. Why it's 30 meg? That's the reason. That's what I want to show you. It's 30 meg because the auto-date time, what we will do is it will create a date dimension behind the scenes from every date since the start of this date until the end. And this is pretty common when you are working, for example, with HR data, where you have the contract, the start date and end date, and the end date is, instead of null, you have 999. So this will create a date dimension for you with millions of records. And you can see that if you use DAX Studio, another great tool, we will use it through the session, and connect to that Power BI data model, you will see that it's created 2 tables, or 3, one template and another 2 with the data, and this one has 3 million records. And this is the problem. That's why the size increases. I've worked with customers that have a Power BI file with almost 1 gigabyte, and just by disabling this, it went to 60 megabyte file. So don't disable it, but know what it does. How can you avoid this? You can avoid this by having your own calendar table, or you can avoid it by simply replacing this value 999 by a null, for example, because this could be a null. So just be aware of it. Now, next tip, and this will go like this. So we went from Power Query, and now we are going to a little bit more pretty demo. Sorry, forgot. Okay. Who knows that Power BI has a barcode scanner in the Android application or iOS? Only 2 people? That's why I never released this next time. So this is awesome. So what Power BI does, and this is one of the things that is very, very low on effort. To do this, the only thing that you need to do is you need to have on your data model a barcode, for example, of course. And then you need to specify the data category of that field as a barcode. As soon as you do that, that field, that report will be filtered by a barcode. So the only thing that you need to, for this to work, is to have a barcode and then specify the data category as a barcode. And you are done. Next thing is you publish this report online, try to show you. Okay. Now, that this cable is broke. I'm sorry. That's bad. Okay. I think I have a video. Now, the experience will be like this. I'm sorry, but my cable is not working. So the experience will be you can scan a product. You can be on a store, scan a product, and then instantly see the sales, the margin. So this is very powerful, a very powerful demo for your customer. And I can tell you from experience, this is a huge wow effect when you are showing this from someone that comes from a BI that is just a BI solution where static reporting, and then suddenly he is able to go to the store, pick a product, scan it, and see the actual sale for the last hour. So know about it, and it's really simple to use. Okay. Next one, also very simple, is the theming. So in Power BI, you have this concept of a theme, and that theme, what I want you to know is that this is not just for colors. Okay, there are a lot of themes that just allows you to change the default palette, color palette. You can do a lot more. You can change all the titles for your reports. You can add a border. You can add a background image. You can change the complete layout of your report with just a theme. And this, if you work on a team, can make your team much more productive, because in the terms of making the report at least prettier than the default, you just need to import the theme and you are all set. I will show you. I have this report here. So this is using the theme. I will change it to the default one, the old one. It looks like this. And just by importing the theme, a lot of things change. So it seems like a different report. It doesn't seem even the same report. So themes are really important. You need to know about them. You need to know what you can set up. This is a complex JSON file, but you can understand what it does. And you have the documentation on Microsoft, and also there is David Erzveld as a GitHub project where he specifies all the properties and all the properties that you can define. That is also an online theme generator that you can use. Sorry, ask a question.
Is it possible to push your theme into every default project?
Yeah, you will need to reopen it. If you are using Power BI embedded, you can do it programmatically, but not with a Power BI service. So you will need to reopen every report and apply the theme. At least that I know of. I know that in Power BI embedded, you have that control, but not in Power BI online. Okay, themes, just know about it. And for example, if you use a template, in Power BI, you have this concept of a template. You can embed the standard theme on a template, and every team, every project that you do from now on, you should start with a template. And when I say every project, every member of the team, when you're going to make a new Power BI project, start with a template, and the template already has a theme, and for example, a calendar table or timetable. Okay, this is something that can make you a lot more productive. I'm doing that in my team, and I can tell you that it's worth the effort of designing your own theme. By the way, this is not ours. This is one that I made. I don't have that designer touch. Okay, now let's go into a little bit more advanced topic. So anyone worked with SharePoint or data lake or blob storage with Power BI? Or a slow data source? No one. All your data sources are fast. Okay, let me show you. So this technique is something that if you work with a data lake or a SharePoint file, a SharePoint list that has big files and you need to import that data, this technique can allow you to be much more productive. So basically what it does is, from the Power BI perspective, a data lake is like a folder. It will list files, and it's the same concept. So what you can do is you can have this stage query, or I call it the proxy query, that will redirect from that will do the redirection from the folder to the SharePoint list, for example. And then in development, when you are developing, you download a subset of the files to your local machine. You target, you use a parameter that will say, okay, I'm in dev mode, so I will target the folder. And then when you publish to production to Power BI Online, you have a parameter where you can change from SharePoint from the folder to SharePoint. So what this will do is, instead of when you are working, when you are developing, instead of being always trying to download the files every time you want to add a new query or every time you want to add a new field, you will work locally. So it will be way faster. So to do this, the only thing that you need to do is, first, you need to know about parameters. Parameters are a concept in Power BI where you specify parameters that will affect your queries. So a query is a collection of steps that will go and get the data for you. And in here I have 4 parameters. The first one is the file source. That is where I will tell, okay, this is coming from the folder or this is coming from SharePoint. And then the other 2, the folder path, where are the data locally, and which are the SharePoint site or the OneDrive site that has my data. And then lastly, I have another parameter is the file filter, because if I'm working locally and I want to connect to SharePoint Online, I can be able to just, okay, I only want to work with a subset of the files. And then what we need to do is we create 2 queries, the folders, file from folder, file from SharePoint, and these 2 are disabled, so they will not be loaded into the model. So you need to disable it. This check here. And then the actual query that will go to the model, it will target the folder proxy. So I can change where data comes from just by changing a parameter. So my Power BI is actually only connected to one data source, but with a parameter I can redirect to the other. And of course that you can use this for production, from development to production. But you can also use this, and this is what I'm telling you, to make your life easier when your data sources are slow. Okay? When downloading a 50 megabyte file is slow. So, and after you publish this online, so imagine that I am the developer, I'm connecting locally, because in SharePoint I have more or less 50 files. Then I publish this online, and I can go, that is the advantage of parameters in Power BI. I can go to my data set and say, okay, now this is not coming from the folder, this will come from SharePoint. Apply. And hit the refresh. And now it will connect. So I published this because I was working locally, then published it online, and I will change the parameter, and the actual the report that is the same. When the refresh is done, should change. Okay, still refreshing. but believe me, it works. So use this use this is the second time. Use this technique if your data sources are slow. Don't use this technique all the time. Okay, I don't like golden rules. Okay? Use this technique if your data sources are slow, if you are not being productive on development, because Power BI and Power Query, in this case, he's trying always to refresh the data for you. So, and if you are working with files that needs to be downloaded, it's very slow if the files are big, of course. Okay. Let me just one more time. Okay, it's working. Okay, next one. This is kind of related to the previous one. One of the things that you can do with your Power BI desktop files is that you can export the data. Now, I was telling you Power BI connected to a SharePoint file, but imagine that you are doing a Power BI that is connecting to a SQL database or an Oracle database, a production database that is slow. You don't want to be constantly stressing that database. What you can do is you can build a Power BI that connects to the data that you want, you refresh it once, and then you do this simple trick. You go to the let me close a few ones. So you develop the Power BI, connect it to the sales database, get the data that you need, and then you can do two things. You can export that data that is actually on Power BI. It could be a 50 million record table, and you can export that data to another SQL DB if you want. So we are talking about Power BI that gets data from that database, and because Power BI is also a database, you can connect to that database and export that data elsewhere. Of course, this is not supported, but you can do it, and it's very useful. So you have two ways of doing it. The first one, you can use DAX Studio, and with DAX Studio, you can connect to a local instance of your Power BI desktop, and you have this option that is called Export Data. And in here, you can export to a CSV, to SQL. Let's choose CSV. Next, you can choose the tables that you want, and it will instantly export that data. The other option is you can use PowerShell. If you want to have a little bit more control, you can use PowerShell. There is a PowerShell module, Power BI PS tool. It's on GitHub and also on the PowerShell gallery. And it has a commandlet that is called Power BI Desktop to CSV. You just need to specify the window name of your Power BI desktop file and the output path. After you have done it, just run. And this will, yes, I'm exporting to a CSV. This will export all the data to a CSV. And what you can do after with that CSV, okay, we can do whatever you want, of course, but you can, for example, go to the Power BI and Power Query and do that kind of the same thing we are being talking about on a proxy. You can create another query, let's call it sales from CSV, because it has the exact same data of your, not of your database. The data that you already transformed that came from the database. And why is it asking me for credentials? And now, then you can go to the sales query, and you will say, okay, this is not coming from SQL. This will come from CSV. Apply. And do all your developments and apply the transformations that you need, but now you are working locally. You are not stressing the database. And after you are done, you connect again to the database. So this can help you when you are working with a database that you don't want to cause too many impact at the development stage. Okay? But there are other things that you can do. You can use this to move data. You can use this to do data wrangling, because Power Query is very powerful in a ways that can, to shape data. So you can do that in Power BI Desktop and then use this to export data from Power BI. It's not an ETL tool. This is not possible to automate, but it's very useful. Okay. Other tip, measures as a dimension. So, and by the way, this is something that is very useful. I use it, not all the time, but whenever I have a situation where I want, for example, to build a scorecard, or I want to build an experience. I have a request from the customer that wants to see in the same report 20 measures or 30 views of that report. So measures as a dimension allows you, and I will show you the end result, allows you to do something like this. You can have a report where the measure is a filter. So this report, you are able to show the costs, the profits, the sales in the same report, because the measure, the measure is a dimension here. And it's the only solution for you to do something like this, a scorecarding. So to have the measures as in the rows of a table. So you can have, okay, these are the measures for sales, the inventory, the costs, and calculate the score, aggregate that score if you want. Okay, this is the only solution to do that. But this has a performance impact. I will tell you that at least 20% your report will be slower, but it might be your only solution to do something like this. But I do it. Just be careful. Try to optimize the measures as much as you can. But it works, and it works quite well. So you can have a scorecard, and I can click the KPI and see. I can even click 2 KPIs at the same time and compare them. So this is very, very useful. And to do this is also very simple. So the only thing that you need to do is you need to create a measures table. So in this case, this table is coming from my Power BI implementation. So in that measures table, you just need to create the measures, give it a name, group as an area. If you want to do that kind of scorecarding experience where you will calculate a score, you need to have something like a polarity. Okay, is increasing is better or increasing is worse? For example, costs, increasing is worse. And after you do that, you need to create a measure like this. You need to create a measure that basically it's as a switch statement that conditionally by the indicator. So you will need to get from the measure, from that measure table, what's the measure that is actually being selected, and then for each code you will call another measure, or you will do a calculation like this. And this is one of the best practices that you need to do to make this fast, is if you have a formula like this, total sales minus last year dividing by last year, you should put last year as a variable, otherwise this will do 2 storage engine queries. And that's it. After you do this, another advantage of this approach is, for example, you don't need to implement one last year measure for every measure that you have. You can have all the other measures, the time intelligence ones, last year, the year to date last year, they are all referencing that base measure. So, and this will allow you to build a report like this. There is also another limitation. I don't know how this is possible, but it's true. That conditional formatting that you have in Power BI out of the box, it only formats the low level, the most granular level. It doesn't format, for example, at the group level. And when you are building a scorecard, this is one of the major requirements. How do you solve this? And by the way, there is an idea. Please go there and vote, because I found it crazy why it's not implemented. I think it has some thousands or hundreds of votes. Yeah, 3,000. It's on a backlog. Great. So, but to do it now, if you need, what you can do is you can have an SVG measure that will basically generate an SVG with a circle with a color, and you can conditionally change the color. Okay, and change the color by evaluating the score. So this is the solution that you have right now. This will be possible, I hope, next month or next week, I don't know. But SVG works. SVG or a base64 image. You can also embed on Power BI a base64 image, and it will also solve you that. Okay, there is also another solution for the generation, for example, of the time intelligence. Imagine that you have 20 measures, and you need to create a last year and a year to date, last year year to date for the 20 measures. It's 1 hour of work. Or you can be lazy, and you can use this awesome tool. It's called Tableau Editor. And what Tableau Editor allows you to do is you can, and for this to work, you need to export your Power BI model to a template, because you cannot edit the model when it is a PBIX, because it's encrypted. But if it is a template, you can edit the model. And what you can do with Tableau Editor is you can open that Power BI template, and in here you can do a lot of things. You can change the entire Power BI model, and also you can do other things, like you can have another Power BI that you already have, and for example you want to copy all the measures and all the tables from one Power BI to another. This is one of the solutions for that. The main one that I use in Power BI is for this. So, because time intelligence is something that we are always creating. So what I normally do is we have there is an advanced scripting mode in Tableau Editor where you can have a C# script like this. I will explain you in a minute. And go to the advanced script, and this C#, what we will do is, for every selected measure that I have, add a new measure with the expression that I want. So I will click, run the script, and it generated all the measures for me. And you can do all sorts of things. You can create tables if you want. You can generate columns if you want. So this is one of the main usages that I give this. So, and after that, you save the template. And my Power BI model didn't have those measures, the original one. And then you open that template, it will open Power BI Desktop, it will get the data, and then you will have all the measures implemented for you. So think of this as a productivity tool. For example, and this is not only, it won't only save you time on the creation, because it will also save you time on the editing, because if you create 20 measures and by somehow the customer asks you, okay, I want the last year, but I don't want the last year with the entire month. I want the last year only until the current day. Okay, you need to change another hour of work. With this, no. If you want to regenerate the entire measures, you can do it. So you can see that now I have the measures that I created. It didn't exist before, and I can use it. It works. So Tableau Editor, it's an amazing tool. You should know about it. And this is one of the use cases. Okay. And I need to, how many time do I have? 30 minutes? Okay. Okay. Another thing that it's clearly not supported, but it's very, very useful, is you can import data. So, can we do questions in the end? Because otherwise I won't have time for everything. So one of the things that you can do is you can import data from online data sets. And this can be useful, for example, to build a model that will import data from other Power BI data sets on other workspaces. That will import data, for example, in an aggregated way. Or, and this is the main usage that I give this, you can have kind of a Power BI wiki that will index all your Power BI datasets that are published online, and you will get all the measures, all the tables, all the row counts, all the what's the actual measure, the formula of each measure, the description of each measure, and it can give, this can be kind of a self-documenting tool for your Power BI implementation. So you can see that this Power BI stats, it has all the models that I have in my Power BI service, two, and all the measures. And I can even come here and search, okay, I want to search on all the measures that I have, something that has opportunity. And I will see, okay, this is the measure, this is the description that the modeler decided to the measure. And to do this, what you need to do is you need to go online, do analyze in Excel, extract the OLEDB connect query that you have there. So in here, when you do analyze in Excel, it will download a file for you, and this is what you want. You get this OLEDB connection, you just need to remove this part, and after that, you are able to use the OLEDB data source in Power BI to execute a DAX query, or in this case a DMV query over that model. So this is very useful in scenarios of like this, like a self-documenting tool for Power BI, and is also useful for, imagine you have a sales Power BI, you have a CRM Power BI, a stocks Power BI, and then you want to have one that is an aggregated view of those three, that will get data. What's the stocks per month? What's the sales per month? What's the opportunities per month? And it will be an aggregated view. So, and this is possible to do through the OLEDB connection. Another usage is you can also connect using script. And one of the things that you can do, for example, is have a PowerShell script or a .NET script, a C# script that will, in this case, I'm connecting to a Power BI dataset online, and I will execute 3 queries or 4 queries, and I want to export all this data to a CSV file or an Excel file. If I run it, this is evaluating, running the DAX, getting the data, and in the end it will export all the data to CSV files. One of the real-world users that I gave to this was in a budgeting scenario, where my customer wanted to send to salespersons around the world an Excel file that has data that comes from Power BI, and everyone will input the budget, and then it will come back to Power BI again. But the data is coming from Power BI where the measure and the business is already implemented. Also not supported. Okay, to go a little bit faster. Just for you, because I talk to a lot of customers and even people that are working with Power BI for a couple of years, and they even don't know about this. So Excel, one of the strongest points in Power BI is the connection to Excel. You are able to connect a Power BI, an Excel pivot table into a Power BI data model. And you can do things that you cannot do in Power BI. For example, you can build a report like this. In Power BI, you cannot build a report like this, at least easily. To do this, you need to put two tables side by side. So I have a table that has sales for the previous 2 years, and then another section with 3 measures in here. So this, in Excel, is the only way that you can do it. So know about this. And another thing that you can do in Excel is you can have tables that has DAX queries behind it to export massive amount of data. Okay. So this is one of the usages. Okay, I will jump forward, otherwise I will run out of time. Another thing that you really need to know, because this can also make your life way more productive, is the REST API. In Power BI, you have a REST API that allows you to do a lot of things in terms of automation, productivity, and real time. One of the examples is the export. So if you want to make, because Power BI doesn't do backups for you, if you delete the Power BI online and you don't have that PBIX, you will lose the data set. One of the things that you can do is you can have a script that will use the REST API. It's a very simple script, and it will iterate all the workspaces and download the PBIX for you and store it in a backup storage. Another example is, imagine that you are building an enterprise level Power BI implementation and you wanted to build 50 workspaces. You can do it by hand with Power BI reports in there, with security implemented. You can do it by hand, or you can do it by scripting and using the REST API. So in this script, I'm basically automating the creation of a Power BI workspace for each folder that I have locally, and each folder, it will have a collection of Power BI reports, a JSON meta file that will say, okay, these are the users that should have access to this workspace. And when I run it, this will automate the creation of the entire workspaces for me. So, and to do it, one more time, you need to know about the REST API, and to use this, the only thing that you need to have is a programming language that can call HTTP request. So this is something that is also very useful to do. I don't do it all the time, only when I have a scenario where I want to automate the creation of multiple workspaces with multiple content. And the third one is Power BI has its own schedule refresh. You can publish a Power BI online and say, okay, I want to refresh this every one time. You only have, in Pro, you only have 8 refreshes per day, but I want to refresh this in the morning, or I want to refresh this at 3 p.m. But some of the times you have a local data warehouse, and you need to chain the Power BI refresh after the ETL is running. So, and to do that, you can also use the REST API. And you can have a script that is chained with your SQL agent that is running locally, that in the end, it will call the REST API to issue the refresh and wait for it, for example. This script, and one more, I can share you just send me an email, I will send the code to you. But this is also, everything is on GitHub. So if I run the script, it will give me an error. Sure why, but if I run the script, it will call the REST API and request a Power BI data refresh, and then it will be pulling the refresh history to know if the refresh has ended or not. So this is very useful when you want to chain the Power BI refresh with an ETL process, for example. Another thing that you can do with the REST API, this is a little bit more advanced, is you can be, and this is very useful when you have a big Power BI implementation, something that can take 1 hour to refresh. And what you can do is locally, you can work with a subset of the data. So I have this report V5. And locally, this report is connecting to a SQL Server database. And it only gets 1 month of data, because when I'm working at my development environment, I don't want all data, and every time I want to test a refresh, I don't want to wait for 1 hour. So I have a parameter that will tell me, okay, which database I want to connect, and from what date I want to get data. So I only want the 3 months of data. So the refresh is really quick. But whenever I publish this online, I don't want to affect the users, okay? Because they are using a report that has millions of records, it has the entire data, and every time I want to do a publish, I don't want for the report to break and only show them a subset of the data. I want them to be always seeing the entire set of data. So what you can do, and you can do this manually, of course. I'm lazy, so I like to automate stuff. Or you can build a script that is intelligent enough to, okay, get this file. This is the V5. I have a workspace that is on V4. So all my reports, I have a lot of reports connecting to this V4 dataset. And when I run the script, what the script will do is it will publish a new dataset, V5. It will set the final parameters, because I can automate the parameter settings through code. So the first thing that I do is publish, wait for it. It will publish as a V5. The next thing, I will update with the production data parameter, so data since 2015. I will delete the standard report that this Power BI published. Every time you publish a data set, it will publish a report for you. So I don't want that. I will refresh on the V5, not the V4. I don't want to affect the other reports. So I will do the refresh on V5. I will wait for the refresh to finish. And if everything is okay, then I will rebind all the other reports to the V5. So the rebind is the only operation that can only be done by the REST API. All the others, you can do it manually. So if I run the script, and just ending. Okay, you can see that it's running. I should have a V5 in here, and when the script ends, the V4 will cease to exist, will get deleted, but all the other reports will be there, and now it will be targeting the new data set. Okay, V4 is gone. And all my other reports are still here. So this is very, very useful if you have a big Power BI implementation and you don't want to affect your end users. Okay? It also has some disadvantages. For example, if you have Excel files connected to a dataset, that dataset will be a new ID, so it will broke. But it's something that you should be aware of. I missed 2 demos. I will have a hands-on lab of 2 hours next to this session, so where I will talk about the Power Platform, but I will only end with first the tip. Know about this. This is one of the strongest points on Power BI, and the differentiator between Power BI and the other solutions, ClickView and Tableau, is the Power Platform. Is the ecosystem that you have where you can create a form and then fire a flow that will insert data into your Power BI and show that in real time. So my last demo, and just finishing, is we'll do a session evaluation in real time. And this is all done without writing any line of code. So I've built a form, that is that form, that you just please open it with your smartphone. And it has a flow behind the scenes that every time there is a new answer to that form, it will store that data in a SQL Server database and show that data in real time in a Power BI dashboard. So if I open this dashboard, so anyone please just do one vote. You'll see that data will be coming here in real time, but will also be stored in the database. Anyone made the vote yet? I could have some problems with because I'm on a hotspot. This should be showing in real time, but maybe it's because of my internet connection. Because not sure why it doesn't work. But the Power Platform is the thing that allows you to do this kind of stuff. Okay, and this is one of the examples. Another example can be automate the refresh of a Power BI data set, or have Power Apps editing, do a budget real-time editing on your Power BI report. So, thank you, and that's all.